So lately, I've been getting a lot of people. Uh, they've been asking me about my Starion. They've been asking about my Mercedes. They're just generally asking, "Hey, how are the cars going? Is your Starion back together? Is your Mercedes fixed? Is it done leaking whatever fluid it decides to leak that particular day?" And honestly, no. I haven't done a damn thing to any of it in actually months now. The Benz hasn't seen a wrench in probably almost 2 months now. I think it's been about that long. And the Starion, it might as well be a virgin again because I haven't spun a wrench on that, and we're pushing 2 years. Um, I just generally don't like coming out in the garage anymore and working on cars because I just have to look at these and think of the amount of work and horseshit and bullshit and any other kind of shit that you can think of that I have to deal with these things in order to get them back in a running condition again. Uh, it just it I don't know. It puts me in a really bad mindset. Uh, the Mercedes has soaked a lot of money out of me that I don't have. My credit card loves me for that, and my Starion. Uh, so here's the big deal with the Starion. I pulled the motor out probably, oh shit, how long has it been? It's got to be close to almost 2 years now. I think it was the end of 17. I think it was like August, September of 2017. I pulled the engine out because it developed a noise in it developed a noise earlier in the year of 17, and I didn't really drive it much at all in 2017. And then I started messing around with it, and the noise seemed to have gone away. So I started driving it again, and I actually took it on a little quick road trip down to Jamestown, New York, and back, which is about 2 hours each way. And it did great. It ran awesome. Didn't really have any problems until I turned on to my road and I heard the noise again. The noise in the engine came back just as a freak thing. It came back as I was turning onto my street. I was almost home. So it it really, I don't know. It sounds like a rod knock, but uh, I it just doesn't make any sense how it would come and go like that. So um, the first thing I did is I pulled the transmission out of it and I checked the flywheel because I thought, well, it's a possibility maybe the flywheel's loose for some strange reason. For some strange reason, maybe the flywheel bolts backed off and it came loose. So I'm like, all right, well, let's drop the tranny. So I dropped the transmission out of it and checked the flywheel. It's fucking tighter than I'm not gonna say what I was about to say. It's tight. Uh, so then I'm like, all right, well, the flywheel's tight. Now what? So I decided, all right, the engine's coming out. What else is it gonna be? So I pulled the motor out and I put it on a stand and I start tearing it down and I check everything over. I pull the pan off, I pull the rod caps off, and I inspect all of the bearings. And here's the motor. And the rotating assembly looked fine. The rod bearings look brand new, as they should be, because they only had about 10,000 miles on them since I rebuilt the motor. So rod bearings looked fine. So I'm thinking, well, maybe it's my balance shafts that just happen to hate life. Just a quick refresh. The noise came about a week after I had an accidental overrev. As you may or may not know, Starions and Conquests do not have a rev limiter, and they definitely should, but they don't. Red line is 6,000, and I was doing a watt shift, and my throttle stuck. And I wasn't thinking what I should have done. I was trying. What I was thinking was shut the ignition off. What I should have done is just let the clutch out and let the gearing bring the RPMs down. That would have been a more immediate remedy. But the only thing on my mind was shit. Quick turn the key off. By the time I could fumble in a panic to shut the ignition key off, my tach was sitting steady and probably running out of fuel map right around 7,600 RPM. So that's a solid 1,600 RPM higher than it should spin. Anyone who knows a G54B, they don't like RPMs, and 1,600 over the factory suggested red line is quite high. So how balance shafts work is they spin 2 times of the engine speed, and there's an upper one and a lower one, and they spin opposite of each other, and they act as a gyroscope, and they cancel out engine vibrations, and they create a smooth performing engine experience. So I'm thinking, well, maybe it was the balance shafts, because those babies were spinning pretty freaking fast. If if you want my opinion, so I slide the balance shafts out, and they looked fine, with the exception, or the balance shafts wow, the balance shafts themselves looked fine. The bearings looked fine, with the exception of one bearing. I can't remember. I think it's the upper one. I think it was my upper bearing. It had a little bit of funkiness looking to it. We had a problem when we were installing that bearing. I don't know how to explain it, but they kind of, the bearings are like a 2-piece bearing, and they kind of like lock together. It's kind of like a tongue and groove kind of locked together, and then it creates a perfect circle. When I was installing them with the cam bearing tool, somehow or another the bearing kind of came apart a little bit, and the tongue and groove, or whatever you want to call it, that's what I'm going to call it, they weren't sitting exactly perfectly flush, at least not as smooth flush fit as I would have liked to have seen. So I took some real light emery paper, and I sanded very carefully. I sanded the bearing imperfections smooth, just so when the engine's running, that ridge isn't going to be there, and it's not going to tear up the journal on the balance shaft. So we did that on the engine assembly, and it has been fine this entire time. 10,000 miles later, and numerous road trips and abuse and everything else. So I'm thinking, well, maybe it just didn't like that extra load of RPM. So I did a balance shaft delete. It's not going to hurt anything. I deleted the balance shafts. This motor no longer has balance shafts. But to get back to where we were, the reason I haven't put the engine back in the car, I've been super hesitant about it, is because there's a little voice in my head, among many others. There's a little voice in my head that keeps telling me that I didn't fix it. I am not 100% convinced that what I found and took care of was the cause of that noise that I had in the engine. I don't know what the hell else it could be, but I am not 100% convinced that little imperfection, that little bit of wear on the balance shaft bearing that I saw, was the root cause of the noise. So this whole time, I just haven't been able to bring myself to put the engine back in the car because I'm afraid I'm just going to put it back together and the noise is still going to be there and I'll be back to square one and a shitload of unnecessary labor uh, right back in front of me again. So I really don't know what to do. The rod bearings looked fine. It no longer has balance shafts. Honestly, I can't remember if I checked my main bearings or not. I want to say I did, but I don't remember if I did. So here soon-ish. I'm not in a great big rush, but here in a little while, in a couple weeks or so, I'm gonna drop the pan again, and I'm gonna pull the mains out, main caps, and I'm gonna check the main bearings and see how those are looking. Just what the fuck? It's a dragonfly. Uh, just as a precaution, just to make sure I cover all my bases, I dot my I's and I cross my T's. Um, so that's pretty much where I'm at with the Starion as to why I haven't put it back together. I just mentally won't let myself do it because I'm not convinced that I fixed it. And then we have this big honking piece of shit that the Germans like to call ultra luxury, this Mercedes. This thing has been the let me think. Let me think of a really good word I can use. This thing has been almost my I don't know. It's certainly been a curse. I bought this car. It was supposed to replace my 300 because I wanted out of a big car payment. I figure, all right, I'm gonna buy a car. It can be fun, and I can get out of a payment and whatever. All my friends say, yeah, buy it. It's a great idea. You're gonna have so much fun. Does it fucking look like I'm having fun? I could say so much more, but I'm just gonna refrain. So basically with this, it's got active body control suspension, and I had a couple lines up front that were leaking. Not a real bad leak, but they were wet lines. So I got up in there, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, if I'm gonna repair these lines, or even replace, uh, I'm just gonna do them all because it requires the front subframe to be dropped out of the car in order to access everything. My lip's bleeding again. So I'm like, all right, so I'm just gonna do all the lines. That way, I'm never gonna have to be in here again. It'll just be a one and done, and that's that. Because the the, the ABC suspension it's a temperamental system. In higher mileage, it's known to be a problem. A lot of Mercedes guys, they grumble and moan about it. Some guys even buy a delete kit and they'll put a regular coil spring suspension in it. I didn't want to do that because when the ABC system works, it's awesome. It's a fantastic system when it works. So I'm trying to do everything in my power to keep the ABC system, active body control system, functional in the car. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna change all these lines, fix all these lines, rebuild all these lines, whatever. So I have many years and miles ahead of me, trouble free. Well, to be fair, it's none of my it's not my fault that I've had all these extended problems after the first repair. The hydraulic shop that was recommended to me, they happen to completely suck at life, and they fucked me 6 ways from Sunday. If I would have just bought Mercedes OEM lines from the start instead of having my lines repaired, recrimmed, rehosed, refitted, if I would have just went with with brand new OEM Mercedes lines, it would be a bit more money out of my pocket, but I would be driving this car and I wouldn't be cussing at it. I wouldn't be swearing at it. I wouldn't be spinning as many wrenches on it as I have in the past few months. It would have been a one and done fix, repair, and pretty much the story would be over with. But because I wanted to save a little bit of money here and there and repair something instead of tossing it away and purchasing new, which in most cases there's nothing wrong with that. But I went that route in this case, and it is biting me in the ass. Uh, the hydraulic shop, they haven't been able to um, supply me with a recrimped line that doesn't leak. The dude even told me right out that when they put the old line in the machine and they cut off the old crimp, the machine sometimes nicks the barb fitting underneath the hose, which it slips onto. And when you put the new hose on and the new crimp, it won't seal because it's no longer a perfect surface under the hose. The dude at the shop told me this flat out after the fact. After I started having problems and started returning lines to him, he told me flat out how the machine works. I'm like, well, had I fucking known this to begin with, I would have just had you put the compression fittings on the first time instead of attempting these crimps that you're telling me had a very low success rate to begin with. So either way, I'm at the point now where I have most of the lines redone by the shop. There's only a couple more lines left that are still the old crimp, and they happen to be leaking. That's why we're still here. So what I need to do at some point is remove the lines that still have the old fittings, have them compression fitted, install them, and then I need to get my hands on the Mercedes scan tool and delete the fault codes in the ABC suspension. Because as it sits right now, there must be a pressure fault in the ABC system, and it's in limp mode now, and I can't raise or lower the car anymore. I push the buttons on the dash, and it doesn't do shit. So I have to get my hands on the tool, erase the codes, and then I can actuate the suspension with the button on the dash again. So there's that. When will I get to all of this? I don't even know. The other thing on my mind about this car and this whole situation and dilemma is, okay, everything is going to be all nice and not leaking, compression fitted, and we're going to be good, right? Well, for how long? How long are these repaired lines with new compression fittings going to last me? Am I going to be 12, 16 hours away from home on a road trip somewhere when it decides that it wants to start leaking again? Because that's going to be a real big inconvenience. So now I'm at a point where, do I want to just say the hell with it, cut my losses, and spend the money on the new Mercedes lines, and then that'll give me the reliability I need for the next however many thousand miles and years that I own this car until I move on to the next car? Do I want to do it that way? There's a little there's another voice in my head that's telling me that that's probably the smart thing to do. My credit card and my bank account is telling me, no, don't do that. I don't know where I'm going right now. I have no idea if I'm going to do that or just run the lines that I currently have installed. But you have to excuse me because I got sunburn and I'm freaking peeling like crazy right now. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to replace them with Mercedes lines or if I'm just going to take my chances and use the lines that I had made up. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. I got a couple more leaks to fix on the Mercedes. I got an engine right here that I don't even know what to do with anymore for the Starion. I know everyone has been asking me, when's the Starion coming back out? I miss the Starion. You need to get the Starion out. Well, that's pretty much everything that you need to know about my Starion as to why I haven't been working on it or driving it or fixing it. Because I'm just not certain enough, and I've been kind of lazy to crack it back open and look further. And then I just explained everything about the Mercedes, and I don't know what's stopping me from jumping off a bridge. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that everyone needs to know about my car projects. Oh, and if you're wondering about my Neon, the Neon's been fantastic. I can't say enough good things about the Neon. I hope it can't hear me because it's such my luck that if I say something and it hears me, it will break. And I can't have that because I got some more road trips coming up. But the Neon's been good. I just got back from southern New Jersey on Sunday with it. It ran fantastic. Went to a car show. I went to the Radwood at Lemons Hooptycon show. Ran great. I haven't got any more leaks. All of the leaks are gone. No oil leaks, no coolant leaks, no power steering leaks. Everything is A-okay. Next weekend, there's a neons.org meet in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which I told the one organizer that I was going to do my best to make it. The way it's looking, I'm not going to make it. I can't. I just can't. The weekend after, there's 2 weekends after. I don't know. I got to look at the calendar. But shortly after that meet, I got to be in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee for the Starion meet. And since my Starion's not ready, I will be in the Neon. And so that's a 12-hour drive each direction. So I need the Neon for that. And I need money for that. And then after Pigeon Forge is over with, that next weekend is Carlisle, the Chrysler Nationals at Carlisle with 2GN.org. And it will be there on the show field with the other 2GN and Neon enthusiasts. So, and that's about a 5 to 6 hour drive each direction. So, I got some trips ahead of me, and I don't have a lot of money left. So, I'm thinking that I will be skipping the neons.org meet in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I just don't think I can make it. It just won't be in the cards. As bad as I want to, because I've been wanting to attend a Neons meet for, oh my God, since I got into the Neons way back in 2005. I've been wanting to do a Neons meet, and I just haven't done it. So I'll be skipping this year again, probably as well. But I will be in Pigeon Forge for the Starion meet, and the weekend after in Carlisle for the 2GN.org Neons meet. And who knows? There's other shows coming up too. I can't think of anything right now, but I know there's more. But I figured I would give you a little bit of a chit chat rundown and fill everybody in with what's going on. So I'll see you guys later.